It's picture frame making time again. There seem to be at least a few people who like watching these videos, so I thought I'd make another one, as somewhat redundant as it is. This one's on the cheap and dirty, not using nice oak boards for this one. It's just going to be some select pine boards from Home Depot. And what is it that's going to be framed? Well, a couple of my favorite novelty pictures. This old one called Heavy Metal. I've had this forever. Being a tuba player, I always get a laugh out of it. Especially it's the family portrait, and then, you know, grandma or whoever up there in the framed picture. Nice touch. I figured I'd finally get this on the wall. It used to be stapled to the wall of my office before I retired, and it's like time to get it on the wall of my house. And then ordered from the Onion store is a reproduction of their famous fake newspaper cover, so I'm going to get that one in the frame. Get a laugh out of that every time I see it. I didn't do any calculations here on how much wood I bought. I just figured this would be enough. And I did pick up a couple more sheets of whatever this is, 3/32 inch acrylic or whatever, just to make sure I had enough of that. As usual, I do my frame calculations. For the big one, which is 18 by 12, I'm figuring on a 3/4 by 1 inch frame, which is from this sketch. This is the raw wood I bought. I figure a 1 inch wide frame that's 5/8 of an inch deep. Originally I was going to make it a full 3/4 of an inch and decided to slim it up a little bit and make it 5/8 of an inch. So this is actually going to be a 5/8 inch by 1 inch frame. As sketched out here, I have a 1/4 inch overhang for the inlay. The face will be 1/8 of an inch deep for the inlay. The acrylic is just a hair under 1/8 of an inch. I'll just call it 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to back it up with some 1/8 inch masonite, which is a hair over 1/8, so I'm just calling all three 1/8. And so that'll be cut out. This will be scrap. Doing the calculation for length, the 18 inch dimension plus 1.5 inches, which is twice the 3/4 inch I'm going to have here. Ends up with a 19.5. I'll make it 20 initially and cut it down. For the 12 inch, it'll be 12 plus 1.5, which is 13.5. I'll make it 14 and cut it down. For the smaller frame, it's going to be 1/2 inch by 3/4, meaning 3/4 inches wide and 1/2 inch deep out from the wall. This one's going to have, because the picture doesn't have a margin to it, I'm going to have only the minimal 1/8 of an inch overhang on the inlay, and it'll also be 1/8 inch deep. Then the 1/8 inch acrylic, this one will just be backed up with some poster board instead of masonite. It's a much smaller picture, so that'll fit in there, and then that'll still give me plenty of room to anchor the stack inside the frame. So the 1/2 inch here will work, and taking 8 1/8 inches, which is the long dimension, plus 1 2/8, well, that's 1 1/4, but it's easier to do the math if I say 2/8, is 9 3/8 inch total length. I'll make it 10 inches and cut it down. The other dimension is 7 5/8, plus 1 2/8 is 8 7/8. Make it 9.5 and cut it down. these labels they put on here are deliberately made to be frangible, so they you can't peel them off without them coming apart. That's by design. It looks like I'll be able to get the entire big frame out of one piece of wood. That's good. And since I'm just rough cutting here, I don't have to be very precise. Have I left the laser on this whole time? That sucks. Huh? Okay, the first thing I have to do is cut these big pieces down to 1 inch wide. Use a table saw for this. And now I've got to cut these guys down to 3/4 of an inch. Can be wasting a lot of the wood, but I can always use the scraps for something. Now to take these bigger pieces down to 5/8 of an inch thickness, I got to pick which side is the better side. I think I'm going to plane these. They've got a lot of gouges in them, so I better make these a little bit bigger than 5/8 of an inch. So I'm still going to have the better side towards the fence. Okay. And now the smaller ones need to be cut down to 1/2 of an inch. I've got to double check my dimensions on these. And once again, I'm going to plane these, so it's going to be a little bit more than 1/2 of an inch. And I've got to make sure the better side is towards the fence. Okay, now I'm going to cut the inlays. Adjusting the blade up now to cut into the cut I've already made. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, all of these now have their cutouts. Put them aside. It's going to be a little trickier to do these smaller pieces. Alright, I have my 0 tolerance plate made out of a piece of scrap 1/4 inch plywood. So I can cut all of these pieces here. Okay, all of these are cut out. Once again, I'm cutting them with the flange down so as to avoid breakout or chipping out. Okay, there's all the small pieces. Okay, so these are all cut now. Okay, sanity check with the back facing up. I'm checking the dimensions, 7 5/8 inches, 8 1/8 inches, so that's good. And this one should be 18 by 12. 12 inches. 18 inches. No mistakes made there. Since this set of frames is just a little more slapdash, or less precious anyway, than what I usually make out of hardwoods and stains and varnishes, I'm just going to use the tape up method on these, where I use some painter's tape along the outside of the joints, making sure they're right up next to each other there, and then I glue them all and swing them into shape and tape the last corner, and that'll substitute for clamping. So there's that one. It can be a little harder to hold them in square this way because, you know, they might want to spring into a slightly different angle, even if the cuts are made pretty accurately. So I actually have taped a 90-degree square into the corner here to kind of force it to stay square. That'll stay there for about an hour, and then the glue will be set up enough that I can remove the angle. And there's the other one. Making quick work of it here. Okay, they're out of the tape, but I still need to let the glue set up a little bit more. I have my 18 by 12 piece of 1/8 inch masonite here. Doing a check to see if it fits in there. Fits in perfectly. Okay, first coat of black paint, and I'm just using Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch 2X Ultra Cover Paint and Primer Semi-Gloss Black. And as usual, I have my heater fans going to keep the area around 70 degrees. While I'm using masonite for the larger picture, I'm just using a piece of mat board left over from another project as the backing for the smaller picture. I have that cut out. I've got my 1/8 inch, or actually closer to 0.1 inch plexiglass here, acrylic, and I've got that marked for both the large and the small windows. Okay, time to cut the plexiglass on the bandsaw. It's going to be a little unwieldy because of the size of the sheet. I'm going to have to cut it in sections and from opposite directions. Turn on my vacuum. The two acrylic panels are cut out and test fit, and I've given the frames a 1/3 coat of paint, and that I think will be enough. Alright, the frames are painted, ready to use, and I've just got to pull the acrylic windows out of their protective plastic and clean them. just deburring the plastic from where it was cut. Good deal. things with the compartments, and then the partitions lift out too easily, so that everything gets all mixed together. Only the finest Chinese design gets you this. Okay, that guy's ready to hang. You'll notice that I didn't do my usual reinforcing of the corners of these frames. Again, a little cheaper and dirtier than I usually do. And more or less above my practice chair seems an appropriate place for it. Alright, next to my 555 and 741 extra larges and my relay computer and my Monster Ophichlide picture, I've got my Onion Man Walks on the Moon, almost.